Hello, Gülşah. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you, Beril. How are you?
I'm fine too. Thank you for asking. So today our topic is engagement, real or fake engagement, and engagement in the online classes.
Mhm.
So as you know, most of the teachers' problems is how to engage students in the classroom for for the learning. This is a
Mhm.
really important issue actually, and they try to answer how to make them involved, especially during the online education for nowadays. Uh, we discussed about presence last week,
Mhm.
and uh, I said that when I engage with the lessons, I feel more present in the classroom environment. But today we will discuss about the engagement itself. So I
Mhm.
want to ask you that. What do you think about how you can make the learners involved in the lessons, especially in the online classrooms?
Actually, there are so many options for that. Between among actually students' age, it's very effective issue from here. For example, elementary school students feel more they need just be more effective and be more on the stage at the learning environment, so that they're always saying something, or they're always um, making some voice because of the teacher realizing him or her, so that
Yeah, they want a realization. They
yes,
want to say that I am here,
yes, I am
especially
here.
young
Can
learners.
I, can I say? I think while in the learning environment, in online learning environment, if your duty is teaching foreign language, actually, you can give them some kind of reinforcements. For example, verbal reinforcements. For example, you are really good at this topic. Well done, good job, go ahead, like this. Or I can make some kind of rules or race for students to make them more involved lessons. And for example, as you know, there's an application which name Kahoot.
They
Yes,
love that.
yes. Every end of the lesson, or every end of the topic, for example, I prepared a Kahoot for my student. It
Yeah,
was about wild animals, and every student tried to really engage the lesson, because it's interesting environment. They are really enjoy the lesson, because there are so many visuals, and um, because they are using their phones, and it is really interesting for them. And they always say that, oh, it's very fun lesson, thank you, Gülşah teacher, will you do this again? And after all these feedbacks from the students, I feel lessons more useful for them, and also myself, so that I try to make some kind of, or I will use some kind of application from the internet, and from these kind of applications, for make them more involved the lesson, and um, curious them, and make them curious, and also make them um, encourage.
yeah. You
Actually.
said that Kahoot, which was a really good example, I use in my internship lessons as well. I think when you give students something they enjoy, the engagement becomes real. You know, the research talks about the fake engagement. But if you give them something they're curious about, something they really enjoy, so their engagement becomes real. They really want to participate the lessons cognitively, actually.
Yes. I want to give an example about it. Last week, actually, one of my students say that I don't know what is the meaning of stork, which is bird, as you know, and I wanted to describe it with my body language, mimics, and kind of these bird things, and she didn't she get understand this is a bird, but what kind of bird she didn't understand. After that, I get in the YouTube and open a kind of stork videos, and she said to me, I will never forget this bird again. Yes.
So, I want to talk about the research more. There are 2 stages at the research, and the research aims to why and when the learners are engaged and they don't engage, and to understand the reasons you rely on the fake engagement. Actually, they want to understand why and when they do this fake engagement. I think that keeping learners focused is essential to make them learn. Actually, the actual learning is really important. So, and after the things we have read, and I'm talking about the research, I realize that most of the students tend to fake their engagement because of several reasons, and I think we do these kind of things from time to time in the lessons. So what do you think? Do you think that you are an engaged student, and think about both for face-to-face education and for online education, actually? And do you sometimes fake your engagement?
Okay, students actually do this most of the time during the lessons, because maybe subject or topic not interesting about their interests. Another reason can be not simultaneous lessons. These dynamics is all stay same dynamic, and maybe teacher's voice is the same level. I don't know. Actually, how teacher is more confident and more talkative at the lessons. Students get more talkative and have confidence at the lessons, because during the lessons, because every students get excited from their teachers, and they actually try to look like their teachers. And if your teacher actually there is no interest, there is no kind of living, I don't know how to say, but if teacher haven't got any curiosity, any excitement inside while they're giving a lesson, students, of course, they stay in there, and they will do some kind of listening to you, or taking notes from your lessons, but they don't do actually, because of teachers' behavior, actually, in my side.
And I want to add that as a learner, if the teacher gives me something to think about critically, I became more engaged with the lessons, because then my learning will be meaningful. And also, when the learning is meaningful, I would have a higher level of motivation as well. But if I ask myself that, why am I learning this right now, and cannot find the answer, then my engagement will be lost, I think.
I agree
So
with you.
finding the answer that why am I learning this, and why is it important for me, why is it beneficial for me, then I will be feel that more engaged with the lessons.
I agree with you. Also, we had English teacher at high school, and when we say something about the lesson, for example, teacher, can I ask you something? Yes, ask, go ahead. These mimics and this posture. We asked something, and after that, she said us, do you have already learned, and how didn't you know that? Okay, it can be, but your answers and your posture or your mimics should be according to student interest and student needs, actually.
Yeah, also the teaching style is really important for the engagement, and it is related with the fake engagement according to the research as well. But I want to ask you that the biggest question for me, why engagement is important. I mean, we always say that engagement is really important, we need to have this in our lessons, but why is it important?
Without engagement, actually, there is no interaction, there is no communication environment, and without them, there is no any kind of education. And with the interaction, with the socializing, actually, language learning. Of course, I'm saying that all these things for language learning. Without interaction, without feeling like involved this lesson, there is no any kind of education, education acquisition. Yes, because for example, natural hypothesis, while we are learning our native language from the birth and to 3 years old, I guess, I don't know actually, you are learning with exposure, and you learn in the beginning, you listen to your parents, listen to your environment, what they are talking, and uh, for a while you need to speak about something, you need to express your ideas and your needs and your what you want, and you started to speak, and without speaking and involvement, engagement in the lesson, in the environment of communication, you cannot learn. So that engagement and engagement and involvement is so important for me to language acquisition, actually.
Yeah, and I also want to say that engagement is important because with the engagement, you are actually giving role to the learners. You are giving them a voice to speak. And at this point, I think the learners think that, yes, my thoughts are matter. And the teacher is actually involving me. And I really enjoying the learning itself. And this is what I think about myself too. When I engage with the lessons, I think that, yeah, the teacher is listening to me. My thoughts are really important.
Yes, students feel like when teacher, yes, I'm listening you, like this posture or this posture, students feels like teachers really interested in my thoughts, my ideas.
Yeah. Yeah. And from the research in the literature review part, it says that engagement has actually three main dimensions. They are behavioral, cognitive, and affective dimensions. So behavioral one, as you remember, it's about active participation. And the cognitive one is the mental investment part. And the affective is willingness and emotional responses. So three of them are really important, of course. But it says that they may not be at the same level during the lesson hours, but at least we need to have one of them in order to achieve the engagement, actually.
Their level changes, actually, right?
Sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Their levels change.
Yeah, their levels change. But I'm sorry, but we need to have at least one of them in order to, as I said, in order to achieve create the engagement. So while designing an activity or something, we need to consider those concepts, those dimensions, as a teacher. But I want to say that engagement in the language learning, I think in language learning, engagement is more important than other lessons. Do you want to share something about it?
Yes. For example, in our high school's education kind of learning and acquiring vocabularies and grammar, I don't know, I listened kind of, for example, documentaries, or I don't remember that while we making kind of group speaking. And in the high school of preparation class, actually, we start to make that. But our assessments in high school just occurs with the grammar and vocabulary knowledge. But without speaking, without communication, language acquisition doesn't appear, actually. For example, you know a language, Turkish, and you know all kind of vocabulary and all kind of grammar, but you cannot speak. So do you know this language, actually? No, you cannot speaking. So that actually speaking is the most important issue while language acquisition. So that for speaking, actually, students should be involved in the lesson, so that they should speak and they should ask something. For example, most of us in high school or even in universities, there is something in question in our minds, but we couldn't say something. We couldn't ask our students.
I was going to talk about it.
Yeah.
You're right.
Without asking something, without saying your expressions, you cannot learn something and you cannot acquire any kind of language. So that involvement and engagement language education is most important for me. What do you think about it?
I think that, as I mentioned before, every teacher wants their students to be engaged with the lessons, and I think, and also it's mentioned in the research that it is especially important in L2 classrooms, because while we are learning a language, firstly you need lots of inputs in a context, and after those inputs you need to start to use that language, that second or foreign language itself. You know, people always say that go to abroad to improve your language, because yeah, of course, going to abroad improves your language, because you will have lots of inputs in a context, and you will have to use the language itself in that context. But you can also achieve this in your classroom environment as well, if you create those meaningful contexts with a lots of inputs. You can also achieve this in the classroom environment as a teacher.
For example, you focus on, while you're speaking, I thought that obligation is really important, because without obligation, any students don't speak during the lesson, because they get shy, they get afraid about the mistakes. But if kind of obligation system in the lessons, which every student should speak and should express their ideas, and this problem can be solved actually, because you have said you should go abroad and you have to speak in this country, and without this obligation, no one can speak actually another language.
Yeah, they say that because when you go to abroad, you will have this obligatory to use it. But you can create this environment in the classroom as well if you want to do that. So in the research, it says language cannot be learned without using it. I completely agree with this statement, because I am going back to my high school years, and I wasn't able to speak because teachers, I never felt engaged with the teacher or with the learners. We were just solving tests or something. We were learning the grammatical rules, or filling the gaps, or something else. The same activities over and over with the same patterns. So there were no engagement at all. I never used the language itself. Yeah, so without using it, you cannot learn the language itself. I completely agree with this statement, actually.
Also, teachers and students, some students and learners hasn't got any mercy for speaking person, because when you say, for example, graduate, by mistaking graduate, every person start to laugh at you, and you feel yourself really bad, so you don't want to speak anymore the lessons. So this obligation,
And
so
I
that
ever think about this. I think for meaningful learning, we should have engagement in the lessons, because there should be an action in the classroom environment. There should be exchange between the informations, between the point of views. And what do you think? Do you agree with me about this?
Yes, there's a discussion environment. There should be.
And also, I think motivation is correlated with engagement as well, because especially in online classrooms, in online lessons, I sometimes lose my motivation, which affects my engagement as well. And yeah, that's why I think they are correlated. Because when I feel motivated intrinsically, I feel more engaged. I want to be more participative, because in that case, the lesson would start to feel like it's meaningful. I'm learning it because of a purpose. And at that point, I won't care if the lesson is face to face or online.
You feel presence, okay.
I feel present, actually, yes. I became more present because in that case, the content of the lesson is uh, more matter for me in that case.
I agree with you.
So I want to discuss about the findings with you, actually, but let me check my notes before, in case I am missing something. Oh yeah, by the way, before the finals, I want to say something else. There is a term which is authentic engagement. According to authentic engagement, it's kind of related with the real engagements. So I take notes like behavioral component is a key component. However, for authentic engagement, learners also need to be emotionally and cognitively invested in the task. So sometimes you may be behaviorally engaged with the lesson or with the task, but cognitively you may not be engaged with the task as well. This is another case, actually. So a student, for example, can be attentive to the task itself, and he or she maybe find it meaningful, but not necessarily engage with it if they lack the commitment. So also task behavior may not be the same as engagement, I want to say. Okay, let's look at the findings. There were some questions about the research itself. For example, first one is, what does fake engagement look like? And there are two categories in here. First one is bodily display behavior. These include eye movements, gestures, or posture. I think you and I sometimes do this kind of things in face-to-face education.
Yes, every student, every listener do, actually, Banish.
You know, you may sometimes nod to the teacher and make an eye connection with him or her, but your mind may not be there.
Yes.
During the learning hours. So yeah, this is a kind of fake engagement.
While you are making like listening your teacher and you shake your head like this, but you don't know she's or he's talking about. Mentally, you're not there.
It's kind of bad, but there are reasons for it, and the students in this research gave their answers for the reasons, so we will talk about them later. So I want to talk about the other thing about what does fake engagement look like. It's work-related actions. This is another thing that, such as note-taking or reading, like you're in the lesson, you look like you're taking a note while
but you're doing some kind of pictures.
Yeah, you are doodling or drawing some circles, or you kind of listen to your teacher, but you are not actually. This is another type of fake engagement. Or maybe you can act like you are typing something on your laptop. This is another common answer by the students in the research. You may act like you're typing something on your laptop, but the teacher cannot see what you're typing.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Also, reading or kind of course books in the middle of the
Yeah. I mean, I never bring my laptop to the lesson, but yeah,
yes,
it's
not
possible.
usual.
So another question is, when and why do students fake their engagements? Do you have your personal answer for this?
Yes, they don't feel or they do fake because they may be sleepy, maybe hungry, maybe thinking another kind of thoughts about their families, their friendship,
Yeah.
and they maybe this lesson is so boring for them. There are so many reasons actually. It's changed student to student.
Yeah, actually feeling tired or bored or just because of their mood of the day. They are
Yeah.
about physical conditions according to the research. And also we know about this problem very well about physical condition. Do you remember? Do you
Yes.
remember that in the university about 3 or 4 years we had lessons in the basement, and it
Yeah.
was horrible. It was really bad.
There is no window and actually 40 or 50 students in the same room.
I need a fresh air while I am listening to the lesson. Because if I cannot have the fresh air, I won't feel that I am alive. Something.
You get
Lots of people in
you
the
get
same room.
sleepier without fresh air and
Yeah,
um,
and also lightning is another thing that affects
I
engagement.
think it was good at our university, but
Yeah,
Windows actually.
but if it's really dark, you may be sleepy,
Mhm.
you may be tired. Yeah, I think physical conditions are really, really important. Really, we need to consider them when we become the teachers.
Yes, also desks so important, uncomfortable
Yeah,
desks maybe affect.
and their conditions as well, by the way.
Yeah.
Okay, another thing is teaching style.
Mhm.
You know, do you feel that when the lesson is really, really long, you became lost?
Yes, of course, because every person has um, there's kind of word span,
Yeah, the attention span.
attention span, and in the elementary school, this attention span um,
Really low.
gets
I don't
low.
remember the exact number, but it was something like
20 minutes
20
actually.
minutes, maybe even 20 minutes is really long for them.
Yes, and 20 minutes. I guess university students get higher it. I don't know,
It's
but
higher. As an adult learners, we can control ourselves better, but still, I mean, maximum 45 minutes is enough.
yes,
Maximum.
yes,
It means at some point, yeah.
because looking at the same point, and for example, there are every kind of technological devices, and they're shining into your eyes, and looking
Yeah.
at the same time 40 minutes, 50 minutes, it's so hard for both teachers and students actually.
Yeah, it's really hard for the teacher as well. You are teaching something, and for an hour, it's, I don't know, it's not possible for me.
Yes, you can make some kind of physical efforts, 50, 60, even an hour maybe, but mentally it's not it doesn't make yes. Even it's these lessons in the mornings.
Yeah.
It
And
gets
it doesn't matter the time about I mean whether it's in the morning or it's afternoon. After 45 minutes, I am lost. I will do fake engagement signs as well.
It depends on the students' attention span and their interesting maybe. It changes so kind of features actually.
Yeah. Another thing is content,
Mm-hmm.
which is really important, I guess, because when you don't find the topic interesting,
Yeah, you get bored.
you get bored and you start to do fake engagement signs, like I said, the nodding or the writing or something.
Yeah.
So the content of the course is important as well while trying to understand the fake engagement by the learners. Because when learners not personally interested in a subject or a topic, and especially when they feel that the content is not relevant with their future life.
Mm-hmm.
You remember I said, why am I learning this?
Yeah.
Why am I learning this lesson? If I cannot find the answer, yeah, I became like this as well. I started to do fake engagement things.
I agree.
And another thing is there are other attentional priorities.
Mm-hmm.
For example, you may have a really important exam tomorrow, but you need to go to your lesson. And especially if you're taking that lesson obligatory, you became to feel like, you give your attention to your exam, not the lesson itself.
They're just being there.
Yeah, you just physically go to the classroom, face to face or online, doesn't matter. You just go to the classroom and started to study for your exam.
Yes.
This is a distraction.
Or you are reading there's really interesting novel and you are at the climax.
Yes.
You want to read it during the lesson actually.
Yeah, another distractor is maybe your friend is playing with his or her phone and the voice or with the light. It can distract you really bad. You know, we both experience about this in our university life while we are in the face-to-face education phase.
We love him.
Yeah. Okay, another thing is, why bother to fake engagements? Why do we do that? I mean, we don't have to do that, but we do that anyway. There are two main things in here. One of them is social expectations or norms. Another is to please the teacher. So for the social expectations,
for example, we are at the education faculty and we are going to be a teacher, and our teacher is a teacher, and we can make some empathy to feeling like bad feelings or feeling like not listening and disturbing things actually. And for me, it's a kind of empathy.
Yeah, it's possible, and some of the students view this as an act of politeness and respect to the others to affect their engagement. And one of them exactly said that I think it's a kind of polite way. You make extra effort and you show respect to the teacher and the other students as well, from a student's perspective. The other thing is to please the teacher. So yeah, sometimes you want to please the teacher, but the reasons behind it may be changed. For example, maybe a teacher can say you that if you do not engage with my lessons, I will give you a bad grade.
Yes.
At this point, you wouldn't care whether you are engaged for yourself or not. You just engage for the get the points. It's not good actually. I don't think a good teacher.
It's not engaging the lessons with cognitively. It's because obligation. And as you know, I don't know, at Istanbul University, and there's a department. They don't have to go to their lessons, and I remember that law department, and they don't have to go to lessons. There's no absent.
Yeah, I understand you.
So they don't have to go to lesson, and because every kind of actually university say the students, if you can pass without coming my lessons, you pass. But it's kind of responsibility for students going to lessons and joining the lessons, and awareness of this kind of responsibility should make students to acquire actually. Without responsibility conscious, there is think about that. You need to pass from this lesson, and your family say that you need to work, you need to study it, your teachers say you need to study, but you don't, because you don't know the responsibilities of that, how you can be success at lesson.
Yeah. And also another student said about this part. They sometimes try to satisfy the teacher because a teacher preferred for his or her students to take notes while they were listening rather than sitting passively. So they said that the learners said that taking fake notes, they were taking fake notes to only satisfy the teacher because the learners wouldn't want to offend the teacher. This is another dimension about it. So yeah, as a conclusion, we need to be aware about the fake engagement as well, because not always we try to engage because we wanted to attend the lessons. And as I said, the engagement and motivation are related with each other. So if we find things that can motivate our students, our learners, I think we can engage them in a better way. Do you agree with me? I don't know, but
I couldn't hear you.
If we can find ways to motivate our students, we can engage them better with the lessons.
Of course, because they are bound each other, and how students get more motivated, they get more engaged the lesson actually.
Yeah, and the fake engagement is a fact, and some time to time we do that as well. I mean, I think every learner do this.
Yes.
And
Every listener.
and I think as a teacher we need to consider that why learners are doing this.
Yes.
Well, what are the reasons for this? So we can find effective solutions for these kind of fake engagements, and we can understand that whether our learners understand the things we are teaching to them or not. And I want to say that actually I want to ask, in online lessons, what do you think? I mean, what are the fake engagement signs could be in online lessons? Because you know, in face-to-face education, you can understand the fake engagement easier, but in online lessons, it's a little bit harder to understand this.
In my opinion, during the lesson, and every student microphones turn off. While I'm telling the kind of topics and kind of, for example, teaching and methods of learning, and I will give some examples to student. After a while, I ask randomly choose a student and I ask that, what do you think these kind of my experiences? Do you think these can be applied for this lesson? Maybe. And if she or he can answer it to me, I can assess their engagement actually. Or if he or she cannot answer me, I can realize and they are fake engagement, because and they're just at the lesson for being there and without any kind of joining the lessons, engaging the lessons. They're just being there because of the absenteeism.
I mean, I actually agree with you, but I want to say that during the online lessons, if your camera is not on, which is not most of the time, students don't want to open their cameras. It's true for us too. Uh, I don't think you can really tell whether the learners are engaging truly or not.
Of course, you
I mean,
can't, or you can't be sure about it.
I mean, they can still write a comment or like your comment, or I don't know, send a picture maybe, I don't know. But in cognitive level, they can still be not engaged with the lessons. So because of that, I think we need to think about how to design and create online tasks and activities, of course, to engage students in a cognitive level as well. So this way we don't only show them the videos or PowerPoints or something else, or make them listen something. We can actually contribute learners to the lessons. I think like that. Yeah, it's harder in the online lesson, but you can improve yourself about this issue as well. So, okay, I think that's enough. But
They're
but
done.
I'm sorry, it's not enough. In online interaction, in online engagement, we need to think about 3 different interaction types. These are teacher-learner, the learner-learner, and the learner-content interactions. We need to think about all of them while we are trying to create an engagement,
Mhm.
because all of them are really important. I mean, you may not achieve all of these kind of different interaction types in one lesson, of course.
Mhm.
But as you know, right now we are doing the learner-learner interaction actually with using this discussion
Yes.
with the platform of Zoom.
First interaction to learner, second learner to learner.
Yeah, so that's why learner-to-learner interaction is really important. But I mean, after I do this discussions, I don't.
Because you're feeling more comfortable actually.
I feel more comfortable and more confident
Yes.
about everything, about speaking, about turning my camera on.
Mhm.
I don't know, everything actually.
Because we are know each other for 5 years. We are
that's
close.
that's another fact. But even if I didn't know you, with the help of these kind of discussions, I will be more confident and more comfortable during the lessons as well, which will affect my engagement also. So we need to consider this as well. And as I said, we just we shouldn't stop at only the behavioral engagement,
Mhm.
like showing PPTs or something, but we also need to design online tasks and activities that promote cognitive engagement as well, because it's more important, I think, the cognitive one, because you cannot understand the cognitive engagement easily
Mhm.
in terms of your learners. Um, so yeah, it's, it's it is enough for me. Do you want to add something about what we have discussed?
And these two articles is very useful for me to understand the past articles and present actually. They're
Yeah,
born with each other.
they're really
And
related.
yes, they're so useful for me to learn to environment education and behavioral and, as you said, cognitive and affective engagement. It was These was very useful for me. Thank you discussing me this.
I mean, you're welcome. Thank you as well. Yeah, these concepts are really important, and they, as you said, they are connected with the previous ones.
Mhm.
So yeah, engagement is uh, one of the things that we need to have, especially in the language classes. We need to use the language, and it's a fact that we have the fake engagement also. We need to realize it's there by all of the learners, and we need to understand it. We need to create things that how can we prevent the fake engagement. And it's hard to see the engagement in online, but with the correct and effective activities and curriculums, I think we can achieve engagement as well in the online classroom environment. Thank you for
Thank you
sharing
so
your
much.
ideas with me.
Thank
See you.
you.
Uh,
See you. Bye.
sorry. See you next week.
See you.